How many of you sitting at home right now have also been sitting at home and have watched something like the One World Together at home? So when was that? Was that only last weekend, maybe? Seems like a long time ago now. So that Lady Gaga hosted that big extravaganza that was Stronger Together, which was the Canadian version of that in a way, which I know for sure that was last weekend. We actually started our viewing, we didn't view those two together as a family, but we did view one thing together as a family that got put on to kind of brighten people's days and feel like we're coming together, and that was the Disney Family Sing-Along. And so that got put out on ABC and then Disney Plus, and so we watched that one. And of course, it was hosted by Ryan Seacrest. And you know, they had the big appearance partway through of like this amazing close-up of Beyonce singing When You Wish Upon a Star. And hers, I think, was maybe the only one that didn't have the sing-along and little Mickey Mouse ears bouncing along the bottom, because it was like just, Beyonce is just going to bless us with this. It's not going to be the sing-along time now. And that particular one wrapped up with the cast of High School Musical from the old one, and then the new one that's now out, and then a whole bunch of other people that have been in different Disney made-for-TV movies and things like that, all coming together and singing "We're All in This Together" as like this anthem that's from High School Musical. And our family has been into High School Musical, so we know all the words and all of that. We didn't need the little bouncing Mickey ears on the words. So that happened. We did that together. There was One World Together at home. There was Stronger Together. And if you were paying attention, actually, Michael Bublé was in all three, good Canadian. He was in all three of those things. The Stronger Together was hosted by Rick Mercer. If we're going to have a Canadian version of Ryan Seacrest, I guess that's Rick Mercer. I don't know. My personal favorite during Stronger Together, I watched most of it. I had a couple of favorites. One was actually Burton Cummings, good Winnipegger, singing Share the Land. And I was like, wow, I was moved by Burton Cummings singing Share the Land. So go ahead and go read the lyrics for that one. And then Anne Murray, introducing, so she just spoke, but she introduced an all-female choir of all doctors singing Rise Again. And so really powerful, actually. And especially the Canadian one, there was lots of thank yous to frontline workers and a lot of encouragement. And you know what? We actually need these things. We need these kinds of things, right? We actually need people to say to us, it is hard. We see you. We see you, healthcare workers. We see you, parents, trying to figure out how to teach your kids and still work from home and whatever else you're trying to manage. We see you, seniors. We see you, people who are grieving. We need people to say that. We need people to say thank you for the people who are working so hard. And we actually need more than words, right? We need people to offer a song, to make signs, to bang pots, to drop off care packages, to organize parades. My daughter's school, their teachers organized a car parade and drove around the streets of the neighborhood this Friday. We need people to display art. And I don't know, why does it mean more when our words are accompanied by music or song or chant or symbol? And my favorite go-to is to talk about sports. So I'm really lamenting because we're not able to watch sports right now. But when you look at sporting events, you see all of those things actually coming together. There's words, but there's also jerseys and mascots and chanting and singing and music playing and the organ and all those things. Why does it mean more when our words are accompanied by music, art, symbol? Also, why does it mean more when someone who is perceived to be one of the elite, says something. I think it is partly because our minds and our societies automatically categorize and create hierarchies. And it means more when someone higher up or in a different kind of category says something. And the end of Stronger Together is a good example of this. So this is the Canadian one, the Stronger Together show. The closing song for that was Lean on Me. So a powerful anthem, right? We're going to be there for one another. We're going to take calls from our friends. And it opened with Justin Bieber. And Justin Bieber, not just Justin Bieber, but in his pure white, I think he did have a blue baseball cap on, but pure white, and in his white house, like his house is like just white, like it's white and beige is basically his house. And so it's Justin Bieber in pure white. He opens it. At one point, Avril Lavigne sings in the song, and all the other, a whole bunch of other performers. So Bryan Adams, Sarah McLachlan, Geddy Lee, Jan Arden, and it just goes, like people all over the map. And as that song closed, we then got Justin Trudeau, our prime minister, with a very brief message, like 15 seconds. But our prime minister didn't close the show. The show was closed by Drake. That's who closed the show. Because we have a hierarchy in a category here, right? What is going to be more powerful? Because Drake, as a rapper and a singer and a performer, also, for me, I connect him to the Raptors. And so sports fans and music fans and all kinds of people connect to Drake. And he gave like a 2 or 3 minute speech. And in his speech, he closed and he urged people to use this time to better ourselves and to continue showing love and not taking things for granted in our lives. And he ended just with 2 words, much love. See, because we have this hierarchy, it somehow means more if Oprah says it than if someone on the B-list celebrity says it. I don't know why, but for some reason, we think that means more. Now, the ancient Israelites actually had a formal way of doing this. You see, they had been divided themselves into 12 tribes, and then one of those tribes were the Levites, set apart. And within the Levites, there were musicians and priests, but only a select few were allowed to be priests. And the job of the priests was actually to offer sacrifices, but we might have some ideas of what that is, but it was actually for all kinds of things. And so what would happen is that the people would bring an offering to the priest, and it was the priest that would do the sacrificing. So the regular people didn't do the sacrifices. And so people would bring offerings to the priest, and they would be for all kinds of things, like to say thank you, or to say sorry, or for celebration, or for sorrow. Like any time we need to express these things, the ancient Israelites would go to the priests, and the priest gathers up what the people bring and lays it before God. The priest goes to God and just lays it before God. And there's rituals that go along with it, these symbolic actions that the priest participates in. And what's important here for our understanding today is that there is this special class of people, the priests. They are the ultimate elite of God's chosen people. There is God's chosen nation. Then there are the chosen out of them, the Levites, and then there is the chosen out of them, the priesthood. They're the chosen of the chosen of the chosen. Now, when we hear the word priest, we might automatically hear hierarchy. And actually, we should. But that hierarchy is about to be undone. And even though we organize our lives and our minds into category and hierarchy, you'll notice that they still exist, right? There are A-list and there are B-list celebrities, right? There's Avril Lavigne, and then there's Drake, and then there's Lady Gaga, but then there's Oprah. I mean, come on. And we have a sense that hierarchies are also not really how it is meant to be. We have a sense that actually it's not supposed to be that way. And here is actually the beauty of what priests in the ancient Israelite tradition are supposed to do, and which we miss because we so often have only the hierarchical view in mind of the priesthood. The biggest thing about them is that the priests exist for the people. They do this gathering up and this offering before God for the people. They bring the symbols of life and death, of thanks and confession, and lay them before God for the people. They enact for the people what needs to be said. They bang the pots. They sing the songs. They walk in the parades. They point to the art on display, not for the sake of their hierarchy or for their position, but for the sake of others. In our letter that we have this morning that Anastasia read a part of, Peter urges his readers to let themselves be built into a spiritual house, what he calls a holy priesthood, to offer spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God. This is for all Christians, all followers of Jesus, all who trust in Jesus are asked to offer up, not for themselves, not to gain some kind of advantage, honor, or position for themselves, but actually as priests for the sake of others. Now, we have trouble with this concept because our world is not set up this way at all. And we might automatically think hierarchies and putting people in categories and things like that. We automatically think, no, that's a bad thing. We should get rid of that. And so what we do is actually we do tear down hierarchies, but we only really replace them with other ones in a new system. That's what we tend to do. Like one of those systems is the one I've been talking about, is sort of this celebrity and its hierarchy of rewards and wealth. Like you get a lot of rewards and wealth if you can somehow be more famous. And we've even created other systems that are connected to that one, systems of likes and shares and number of views, so that we can know better where we are in this pecking order. Now, it's actually really good to see celebrities saying thank you to doctors and nurses. I think it's actually great to have famous people who are in this hierarchy going on all networks to say, look, this is hard, and we're going to get through it together. I think that's a good thing. I actually feel really proud to be Canadian when I see Haley Wickenheiser and Drake and Buffy St. Marie and Fred Penner and all the regular people who also made that show. It makes me long for our way of life to come back, our values, our national identity that's so shaped by hockey and Tim Hortons and diversity and going to Lake on the weekends. I look forward to seeing that way of life being reconstructed. But as it is, will we question the systems and foundations upon which we build our life together? The chapter from 1 Peter puts Christ at the center. It calls him the cornerstone of what we are being built into. And we have to get this right because we've created all kinds of hierarchies and religious categories somehow around Jesus when it actually seems like Jesus had other ideas than categorization and hierarchies. Because when we look at Jesus' life, it seems like he skipped hierarchy 101. He didn't do that. He went straight to the poor, the sick, those called unclean. He made friends with regular people like fishermen and tax collectors who everyone hated. And he had good news for them. They were all included. Peter writes this letter to a really diverse group who are trying to live out equality in a very hierarchical world. He tells them God is building something really different. It's not what you see in the Roman Empire. It's not what you see in the religious establishment at the temple. It's not what you see with celebrities, with governments, with media influencers. God is building something else. And it's you. Let yourselves be built by God into a spiritual house. God is building a community, a people, and the cornerstone of this building is Jesus. And if you want to know the foundation, you've got to look at Jesus, who Paul, when he writes in Philippians chapter 2, says, who being in very nature God, like if you're going to talk about the top of the hierarchy, Jesus, who, being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God as something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant. And Peter writes, and this is the cornerstone of it all. So you see then how we would hear the end of our reading today. The church, the early church, was this group of people, Jewish and Gentile together, people of different nationalities, men, women, slaves, owners of slaves, all of them coming together around a common table, committing themselves to living with Jesus as the cornerstone, not some other set of categories or hierarchies. And so Peter wrote this to them, but you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's own people. There are hierarchies out there, but no, God is building something here, and it is actually open to any and all. You want to know what it is? Then look at the cornerstone of what God is building. Look at Jesus. That's the clue to knowing what it is that God is building. We are set apart. This is what holy means. It means to be set apart. But that set apartness is for a purpose. Peter writes to proclaim the mighty acts of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. This is what we're set apart for. It's not to show everyone how great we are. It's not to say, hey, look, here it says in the Bible, we're the chosen ones, so that means some of those people, they're probably not. Right? It's not so that we will set up new hierarchies and new categories so that we can then draw really clear lines and go, well, we know that we are in, and we know if you don't fit in this category, in this box, then you are out. Maybe you're not quite out, but maybe we could just create a chart here to show us where you would land. That's not what Jesus is setting up. Though the church basically has done all of those things to our shame. No, we are set apart to show the world the mighty acts of the one who brought us from darkness into light. That's it, to show people that. And then how? By living into our priesthood. By gathering up what is in need of offering up. The community built around Jesus does this. The community built around Jesus prays for our neighbors. We pray for our neighbors, and it doesn't matter what religion they are or what faith they have. The community built around Jesus says to people, it's hard, and we are here with you in it. The community built around Jesus sings of a love that won't let this world go, not just that won't let me go. The community built around Jesus makes food for the hungry. The community built around Jesus tells parents that they are amazing for caring for and teaching their children right now. The community built around Jesus laments death and celebrates new life. The community built around Jesus gives thanks for the goodness present in the people of this planet, regardless of who they are, race or religion, gender, age, ethnicity, and even whether we agree with them or not. We thank God for human life. We offer up whatever sign, symbol, or song is needed in this world and for this world. You are all priests. See, we believe in the priesthood of all believers. And here's the thing, you aren't individually priests in the church. It's actually that the church exists as a priesthood for the world, right? It's not that the church needs priests. It's that the world needs the church to live its priesthood. Because we offer these things not for our own sakes, but for the sake of others. And in so doing, we cannot help but proclaim the mighty acts of him who calls us out of darkness and into his marvelous light. Amen.